All right. Glad to see you guys are here. This is excellent. It's always exciting to see people interested in health and wellness and alternative medicine and natural medicine. How many of you guys here are in healthcare? Yeah. How many of you guys are nurses? Oh my God. All right. So if we have any problems, we have plenty of staff in the audience here. All right, so today we're going to talk a lot about food as medicine, and hopefully we're going to challenge some of your guys' concepts and see that there's a whole host of wonderful opportunities to not be sick and fatigued and die prematurely. So, we'll, a little bit about myself. Let's see. You guys have seen this? It's going too fast. All right, so I've been practicing. I have a new concierge practice in Newton, Kansas, and basically we just help reverse acute and chronic conditions naturally. That's pretty much across the board. No matter what people have, it's always reversible. Is that up too high?
Yeah, I'm trying to adjust it.
Usually I talk really loud, so I don't want to...
Talk the way you normally talk, and I'll adjust it to that.
Okay. So, at our practice, our goal is to kind of look at all the mess that we've created and then eat our way out of it. So we create a lifestyle program to live your way out of disease. Educationally, I'm a licensed chiropractor. I went to chiropractic school up in Kansas City, and then 2 weeks later I went to medical school and did most of my medical rounds in the small rural areas because I had a scholarship for that. And about 3.5 years into it, I got fed up and decided we weren't helping anybody. And I had heard about a natural medicine practice, went down there, and they claimed that you could reverse acute and chronic conditions naturally. And I was really challenged by that idea because I'd never seen it. I've gone to school for 12 years and I've never seen it. So that was the first time I ever saw patients that actually said, I used to have cancer, I used to have diabetes, I used to have hypertension. And that just blew my mind. And I quit medical school and started practicing with them. And very quickly outgrew that. And now we have patients all over the country, and even had last year a patient from Africa ask if they could be a patient. And I'm not licensed in Africa, so we couldn't, but we do health coaching with a lot of the patients or clients around the country. So I have a lot of postgraduate education in lifestyle medicine from Harvard Medical School, Yale Medical School, Johns Hopkins Medical School. Very few schools out there really have a coursework for lifestyle medicine that says that the solution is not another drug, it's not cutting stuff out. It's we cause it, just stop doing that. So in all the stuff that we talk about, just keep this in your mind. If you guys all own cars, if you put oil in the right place, water in the right place, taillight fluid in the right place, gas in the right place, the car works. It always works. Oh no, I'm easy. But if you start putting water in the gas tank, does it work very well? No. And so then you go to your mechanic and you'll start complaining, my car knocks all the time. Then he'll provide a prescription, say go get this anti-knock formula from the AutoZone, and then you go there, you fulfill your prescription, and you just keep doing this over and over and over. And then I'm the mechanic that says stop putting water in your gas tank. And that is the simplicity of what we're going to talk about today. Alright, so let me change this over to our actual... We got mood lighting and everything. Alright. So, again, I have a doctorate, a diplomate in functional medicine. I have a diplomate in clinical nutrition. I have a board certification in integrative medicine. I eat, live, and breathe this stuff. I love this stuff. Hopefully there isn't a question you can't ask me that I don't know. That you can't ask me that I don't know. Alright. So, food is medicine. What does that mean? What does that mean to you guys? Well, you guys showed up to this Talk. Why? What is this? What does that mean to you guys?
You are what you eat.
Very good. Very good. Anything else? You guys just didn't have anything better to do? There's no free food here.
It can make you healthy, it can make you sick too.
That's good. That's good. All right, so food as medicine, modern medicine by Hippocrates. He said, let medicine be your food and food be your medicine. And that's really been the core of modern medicine for about 2,000 years. It was always take this herb, take this plant, take this root. And now we've changed that. You know, Paracelsus, the father of pharmacology, said, everything man needs for health and wellness is provided in nature by God. Man's job is to find it. And we found it. For 2,000 years we used it. And then we got this great idea in America, and we said, well, what if we synthesize that, patent it, and sell that as a chemical, not as food? And that's where we're at today. So we want to go back. We want to go backwards in time here. So we're going to talk about 8 principles of using food as medicine. The first principle is when it comes to healing with food, be exceptional. A lot of you guys are going to hear all throughout commercials, everybody's selling an idea, they're selling some product. The cure for you is this rare little berry found in the middle of the jungle and only I know about it and sell it, right? That's what we've kind of gotten used to. Well, it's not true. Everything we need is here. But we don't want to be this kind of person that kind of gets nullified by all these different studies that say this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, and we just kind of throw it all out. We want to really address food as exceptional. I mean, this is powerful, powerful stuff. This root right here, anybody know what this is besides Sherry? Who?
Ginger.
Very close. It's the orange one.
Turmeric.
Turmeric. Who said that? Oh, very nice, very nice. So this is turmeric. Why is turmeric so powerful? This stuff is a COX-2 inhibitor. It'll block pain and inflammation. And unlike Mobic, that's very, very expensive, this is very, very cheap. Half the world uses this to control inflammation and pain. The idea is I don't have inflammation so bad that I am seeking some type of regime for it. I eat to not be inflamed. And instead of causing 35,000 heart attacks like Vioxx did, which got it pulled, this actually deplaques arteries. Think about that. It actually goes through and cleans your arteries out much like ginger, its cousin, which the other half of the world eats. This is a cheap, simple way to not have headaches, not have stomach pain, not have nausea and vomiting. It's just food. So we want to think of these, it's just not a root, it's just not a little thing we add to our food, but it has exceptional qualities to it. How many of you guys in here fish? Alright. Really? Not that many? Alright. You guys know about the concept of fishing, right? Alright. And the reason most of you guys don't fish is probably because of how we expect conventional fishing. We go get a rod and reel, we put a little bait on there, and we sit and we wait and just waste our life waiting for this potential fish that'll come by. That is conventional. That's what we expect to do. And really, it's not that exciting. It's just a way to get away from the kids, right? What if I told you you could drive your boat around in Kansas and just put a net out? Drive your boat, put a net out, and you'll just catch fish like crazy. Does that sound real? Shh. It's against the law. Well, I'm not going to tell on anybody. All right? So, this sounds crazy and illegal, right? But is it true? Can I just drive my boat around in Kansas and catch fish that just jump out into the... Do people get just knocked out of the boat by fish jumping into it? Really? Because it does. You can catch fish in Kansas and Missouri and all over the U.S. now by driving, and the vibration of the motor panics the fish, and they jump out of the water and often knock people out of the boats. And of all recreation, including golf, what is the most dangerous sport there is? Fishing. Fishing. Right? When I go out on the lake, I'm taking my life in my hands. But this is what I'm talking about. This is exceptional. And the stuff we're going to talk about today, you're going to go home, you're going to tell people about, and they're going to say, you're crazy. That's not true. And that's why we're going to talk about studies and use people like Harvard and Cornell to justify what we're talking about today. Because otherwise, telling people that they can be exceptional fishermen with a net doesn't seem like it's really true. It seems crazy. So that's exceptional. The second principle is to understand that we took, where are we at? How do we end up here? Everything's epidemic. All these diseases that we have. How many of you guys have somebody, either personally or a friend that has a chronic disease? I'll show a hand. Right? 3/4 of Americans have a chronic, unrelenting disease. And it's almost all cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, and autoimmune diseases. Right? These are chronic things that we chronically manage. In fact, 80% of all insurance is just to manage chronic conditions. So, how did we get here? Has it always been this way? And that's the principle you got to understand, is that we took things that were very rare in the U.S. and within the last 20 to 50 years, we have created epidemics out of things that were rare. Epidemics. You take heart disease, cancer, stroke, top 3 killers. If you guys don't know, cancer actually has surpassed heart disease as the #1 killer in the United States. We did it. Yes. No. All right. So, heart disease, cancer, stroke, and stroke's just a heart attack that happens in the brain. And then we have diabetes, and these are the 4 that we're going to focus on today. But all these are preventable, all of them. I was just hearing a study about the Chinese companies that are polluting the rice fields, and then they're putting toxic loads of cadmium waste products into the rice fields, and then they grow the rice, and then they eat the rice, and then they get kidney disease and kidney failure. So their solution is, they don't eat their own rice, they ship it to another province, right? But it's an easy way to fix kidney problems there. Stop eating cadmium in your rice. So these 3 things. Cancer. Cancer in 1900 was 1 in 8,000. It was an absolute rarity. There were societies all over the world that never even had cancer. Cancer was an absolute unknown. Now, it isn't because we don't know what cancer is, because we know that Egyptians back in those days actually had cancer, and it was on papyrus paper. So it's not a new thing, cancer. It's not that we're living that much older that all of a sudden we get more cancer, because we're actually seeing cancer at younger ages now. It's the leading cause of death among 20 to 40-year-old women, women in the prime of their life. It's more likely to kill them than heart disease. If they survive to 40, then it's heart disease. So we cause these things. And the way that we cause it is we produce chemicals that are toxic and kill pesticides or herbicides or fungicides. It's toxic to these other bugs, but we share the same genetics as these bugs. We have 97% of the same DNA as the fleas that you're trying to sterilize. And if it disrupts their endocrine system, is it going to disrupt your daughters? Your cat, your dog, yourself? It will. And we know this. And worse yet, and we won't talk about this, is the epigenetic component to that, is we will then pass those to our daughters, up to 7 generations. So we're not only harming ourselves, but we're harming generations of ourselves. And we see that skyrocket exponentially. Things like leukemia, childhood cancer. 1 in 500 children by age 15 will have cancer. 1 in 500. Which cancer used to be rare in an adult. In a child, it should be absolutely unacceptable. And 1 out of 3 of those cancers will be leukemia. And we know the chemicals that are tied to this. We absolutely know this. Heart disease, 1 in 2. Heart disease has almost always been, from 1900 to today, it has almost always been number one. But it killed 18 times less people just even 50, 60 years ago. And of course, is it because we're getting older? Are we seeing more heart attacks just because we're living so much longer? No, we see heart attacks younger and younger. We have 40-year-old people having bypass surgeries. We have 50-year-olds having their first heart attacks. 50. And it's not becoming a rare thing to see people at 50. When I went to medical school, it was a shocker. I mean, it was an absolute red flag. Now you hear about it all the time. You hear about people getting quintuple bypasses before the age of 50, which means every single artery to the feed their heart is plugged up, and they're going to die 5 different ways, unless we chop out the veins from their legs and reroute their heart. And of course, we see kids now, studies that look at kids and their blood, and we see foam cells or pre-plaque developing by age 10. Because the diet that's causing our adults to have higher heart attack rates, and at younger rates, we're feeding to our children. You think of that McDonald's Happy Meal. That Happy Meal, for that happy little kid, used to be an adult meal. Those were adult-sized fries, adult-sized burger, adult-sized drink. And now we're feeding those kind of chemicals in that amount to our children. And why would we expect that they would not suffer at a greater rate than us? And then diabetes. Diabetes went from type 2, went from absolutely a rare thing. And in fact, type 2 really didn't exist until 1959, and that's the first time in literature that it became a real full-blown disease. That we have a new disease that we created. Now, that wasn't that long ago, right? That's I Dream of Jeannie time, I think. Is that right? So, in just that short amount of time, we took something that was 1 in 100 million to 1 in 3. 1 in 3 people are now having diabetes that didn't exist, and now it's an epidemic. And in the textbooks, in Harrison's textbook of medical physiology, back in 1990, the definition for type 2 diabetes was adult onset, non-insulin dependent diabetes. You couldn't do this to yourself until you were older than 35 years of age. And we changed that diagnosis. We changed that criteria because we created a new type of diabetes. We created insulin dependent type 2 adult onset diabetes. So we had to rewrite the books. Harrison's had to rewrite their books to accommodate what we just did to people. And then we had another change in just a few more years. We started having children develop type 2 diabetes, which has never been accomplished before. Again, we succeeded. If that was our goal, we succeeded. But we're hitting the bullseye on the wrong target because now we actually have surpassed that. We now have insulin-dependent type 2 diabetes in children. So we had to rewrite the books again. And now we have what's called type 3 diabetes. Anybody know what that is? It's coming to a textbook near you. It's the skinny diabetic. It's insulin resistance diabetes of the brain. And because the brain functions purely off glucose and some ketones, but mostly glucose, we now are suffering those same effects, but we're creating people that just can't think anymore. Massive amounts of brain fog in people. Now, if that's full-blown diabetes, let's factor in the pre-diabetes, the people that within 3 to 5 years, if they keep doing what they're doing, are they going to get diabetes? Absolutely. And now it moves from 1 in 3 to 1 in 2. We have created a population where nearly every single man, woman, child will have diabetes type 2 in their lifetime. Is that unacceptable? Isn't that crazy? We just sit by the sidelines and we go, yeah, this is normal. This is all right. That's how it's always been. All right, so that's conventional wisdom. Just keep doing what we're doing, right? We become the sheeple of the TV. Buy this, buy this, buy this, you'll be fine. And when you're too sick, then buy this product, buy this product, buy this product, and you'll feel better, and instantly you'll be not sick, right? And they completely ignore the idea that we cause this, we can uncause this. We follow this throughout all these diseases. And so these, very quickly, prostate. In the US now, by age 50, well, no, we changed that. By 40 now, 50% of men by age 40 will have a prostate so large that they can't pee very well. Isn't that crazy? By age 40. And we can see that prostate wasn't even an issue back in the 1980s. We skyrocketed. We cause it. We discover, we call it a disease. We keep doing the same thing. We call it a major disease. We keep doing it. We get an epidemic. And then we act like we have no idea how this came about. If you go to other countries, you know you can go to another country and say, hey, will you wear this little tie to symbolize your support to finding the cure to prostate cancer? And they would have no idea what you're talking about because they don't have prostate cancer. You know there's countries that don't have breast cancer? You guys know this? I mean, all this stuff that we do to ourselves, it's not worldwide. Now, everywhere we export what we do, it then becomes epidemic there. That's true. But there are countries that they would have no idea what you're talking about, run for the cure. They don't have to have a cure because they don't cause it. Right? Same thing with heart attacks. Heart attacks since 1900, we just created. And it's not that we're living exponentially longer, because we are actually dying earlier now. My generation, Generation X, there's a couple of you guys out here, we're not going to live, we are supposed to not outlive our parents. We're going to be the first generation in American history that does not outlive their parents. And that's because of diseases like heart disease is killing us in 1/3 of our lifespan. Diabetes is taking up to 27 years off our life. And of course, cancer, we're getting more cancers and younger cancers. And what was it, 1983, there was a conference, and they said that we have run out of options. There's no more new cures. They weren't cures in the first place. All we do is just rearrange the same ones that we already had, and then hope for the best. Same thing here for diabetes. Again, 1980 to 2010. And this is really great, diverticulosis. In the 1950s, we had one of the biggest changes in food ever. We started eating fast food. And of course, we started changing food to where it was cooking easier. We started getting instant foods. And of course, we take out the things that then protect our colon, protect our gut. This is a beautiful one, multiple sclerosis. Huge problem in the US. Before 1984, you're not getting anybody to sign up for that run to find that cure. Why? Why was there no MS before 1981? Does anybody know the major chemical that's causing this? Astronomical autoimmune? Say, aspartame. See? Yes. Aspartame. And that's when we saw child brain cancers skyrocket 500% in just a few years. Was after we put a known cancer-causing agent into the drinks and the rest of the food that we eat. Now it's in 6,000 different products. It is an absolute poison. It's formaldehyde and methanol. Methanol is neurotoxic. That's what you put in scopes so people won't drink it. And it destroys your nerves. So then we have nerve impairment. We don't know why. We're eating our aspartame. And this is true among all autoimmune. Same thing. Autism's a wonderful one. Wonderful. Because autism went from absolute rare. The first case was, back in 1930s, I think. It was after the first DDT vaccine, or MMR, I think MMR vaccine. So there's 1 in 220 million. That was your risk. 1 in 220 million, just in the US. Today, it's 1 in 40. 1 in 40. Just a few years ago, it was 1 in 110. Just a few years before that, it was 1 in 150. Back in the 80s, it was 1 in 10,000. Somewhere. Oh, no, they got a little bit different here. So, did we cause this? Yeah. We genetically modify corn, so it interrupts or disrupts octopyramine in the worms, so we can have better yields of crops. But again, do we share the same genetics? We share the same physiological pathways? So it disrupts our octopyramine. And then we have mood and facial recognition and social problems. And we call it a disease, and we're all searching for this cure. But it's amazing if you go back and you say, did we not have it? And everywhere they put that corn all around the world, we see autism spread throughout the world. And now we all eat BT corn, and we all pretty much are guaranteed that we're going to have a kid that has autism. If we keep doing what we're doing, what's that number going to go from 1 to 40? What's it going to go to? Everybody, 1 to 1. You're guaranteed. The cancer rate in 2010, the CDC will come up with this in a few years. The cancer rate now in the U.S., the World Health Organization predicted by 2010 that every man, woman, and child in the United States will have cancer within their lifetime. And remember, we're not getting older, we're dying younger. 1 out of 1. We guaranteed it now. And this is a great map. This is from the CDC. This is obesity, which a couple years ago, 2010, we said obesity by itself causes 100,000 different cancers, including 22% of all breast cancers, due to that one thing. And we literally have to create new categories to accommodate what we've just done to our population in just 15, 20 years. Just 15, 20 years, this is what we do. We're America. We don't do it. We do it exceptionally, right? We do it epidemically. So is it a surprise? Is it a shock? It's a sudden epidemic of diseases. And that's the key. It's a sudden epidemic of cancers, heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune. Sudden epidemic. So then we say, hey doc, I don't want these diseases. What causes them? And what do they say? They say 2 things. I don't know. And?
Genetics.
It's genetic. It's never genetic. 95% of the time it is not genetic. And 5% of those times we actually know a thing called epigenetics, which means we can turn on and off those genes. We can turn on and off the genes for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune. If there's a genetic, like BRCA gene for breast cancer, right? Women will get that tested. Oh, I'm BRCA gene positive, so I will electively get my breast removed. And no one says, you know what? You can turn that BRCA gene off. You turned it on. You can turn it off. No one will talk about that. So it's not your genetics that's killing you. It's your diet. It's the things that we call food that aren't food, and then it's all the toxic chemicals that we put in the food so that we can make a greater profit in our stock while our children die, while we suffer. 2006, conventional wisdom says smoking is the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. And that was true. I was raised on that. You guys were raised on that. It's an absolute silly idea. Smoking 5,000 different toxic chemicals, you're going to get cancer and you're going to die early. Right? 5,000 toxic chemicals that you breathe in. Cancer-causing ones. Endocrine-disrupting ones. Is it any surprise that smoking will cause disease? So in 2006, what took the place of the #1 cause of death, preventable death in the United States? What was more toxic than 5,000 inhalants in you? Your diet. Your diet. In 2006, your diet became the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. Your diet. The 10,000 ads that you look at every single year. You're Texan. Trying to get rid of that. 10,000 ads saying, buy this, eat this. They're killing you. They're killing you. One of the best things we ever did was get Netflix and Hulu. Our kids don't watch food commercials anymore. They don't ask for things. We tell them what's healthy, and they don't get all this conflicting information. And it's really helped. And they will tell this kid what causes obesity in this kid. They'll tell him it's his genes. Because is his mom probably overweight? Right? Is his brother's probably overweight? Why? Why do we see things in families, and how can I say that's not genetic? What is it then? Right. If I do what my daddy do, I get what my daddy got. Right? My dad died of diabetes, complications of diabetes in his 50s. He lost toes, foot, the other foot, below the knee, below that knee. Right? My A1C, 5.4. I'm not doing what my daddy did. Because I am not going to get what my daddy got. Right? I'm going to let my wife kill me. So the rates of cancer, prostate, breast. Now, cancer used to always be lung. Was number one, lung. Why was lung cancer number one? Smoking. That's 5,000 chemicals. That's easy to figure out. Does that make sense? Well, it's not the leading cause of cancer anymore. Breast cancer and prostate cancer are the leading cause. Why? Estrogen. This thing here is what? It's Powerade. If you get really hot and you get like deep down thirst, you got to drink this, or else you won't be healthy like an American. What is this plastic made of? Petroleum, which is estrogenic. When I drink out of plastic, I guarantee that I have an enlarged prostate. I guarantee that I'm going to put myself at a huge risk for prostatic cancer. If my wife or my daughters drink this stuff, what's it guaranteeing for them? Uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, endometriosis. What about that blue color? That's pretty. What's that made from? Who? Chemicals. Petroleum. The petroleum makes the plastic. The petroleum, now don't worry, it's not gasoline. That's worth something. This is all the stuff that the sludge that's left over, right? We're making profits from trash. It's awesome. If you don't stop it, right? That blue food coloring in there is synthetic. It is made from petroleum. What about the Flavor Burst Mountain Berry Blast? What's that from? Petroleum. Artificial butter? Petroleum. Margarine? Petroleum. There's a great book called Twinkie Deconstructed by Ettinger. And it really, it's not an exciting read, but you would not believe how many things we eat that are petroleum. And all of these are endocrine disruptors. All of these guarantee that we are going to be sick and toxic. And all the electrolytes that are promised in there, you can get that from fruits and vegetables, right? Fruits and vegetables. Which is how we had top athletes setting records before Gatorade. Tour de France, they rode heavy metal bikes, not carbon fiber, and there's still records that are set, right? Without Gatorade. Colon is number 2. And what is colon cancer from? Bad diet. What did we take out of food so we can make food cook really fast and taste really good?
Fiber.
We took the fiber out. Is whole grain brown rice the same thing as instant rice? No. What does instant rice end up becoming? Hey, you guys are awesome. Sugar. Sugar. Right? What does a loaf of Wonder Bread break down to in your body? Sugar. That whole loaf is sugar. This here is 13 pounds of sugar. 13 pounds of sugar. Would you guys electively eat 13 pounds of sugar? Atwood and Samuelson, who are the guys who started the USDA that really defined what nutrition is in America, and they got it from Germany. They were beside themselves that in 1900, Americans were starting to gain weight. And the reason is because they were consuming get this, over 10 pounds of sugar a year. 10 pounds. Now fast forward that all the way to today. How much sugar does the average American per month consume today? Yeah, 13. So 12 plus an extra buffer there. 13 pounds of sugar a month. 156 pounds of sugar a year. 156 pounds is what an adult male used to weigh back in 1900. So we eat an adult male from 1900 made purely of sugar. Now what if he was chocolate? Yeah. That wouldn't be so bad. So how can we expect not to be sick if we eat 13 pounds of sugar a month? The average student by age 15, average teenager, consumes 800 sodas a year. They get half their daily calories from just soda, which is petroleum, sugar, petroleum, carbonic acid, and lined with bisphenol A, which is estrogen, and tin. But it's reverse osmosis water, so oh, that's pretty healthy. Alright, so did we do this? Yeah, so part of what we want to talk about is did we do it, and then another part we're going to say is how do we undo this thing? So these are just some of the changes. Again, these are kids' meals, kid size, which used to be adult size. And now we're eating 3, 4 adult sizes, and we're saying, why don't I look like one? I grab a bag of Cheetos, grab bag, serves 4, why don't I look like one? I drink a soda, I drink this because I'm real thirsty. 2.5 people. This is for you, your friend, and a midget, right? But we don't share this. We drink it all. So we're drinking for 2.5 people, we're trying to look like one. And it ain't going to happen. That's Texan. So we don't want conventional wisdom. We want to look at exceptional wisdom when it comes to food. Because if we cause it, we can uncause it. And that's the beauty of the body. Your genetics aren't designed for disease. Your genetics are designed for health. Your genetics are designed for longevity. Your physiology works. It all works. We just disrupt it. So, everything's reversible. And just real quickly, I'll kind of talk about a couple cases, and then we'll go on to explain why, and then talk about the actual foods here. Diabetes is a very easy thing to reverse because we cause it. We just stop causing it. 43-year-old woman with type 2 diabetes, and we actually had a new 64-year-old one that it took almost 2 weeks now to get her below diabetic fasting levels, sugar levels. Conventional wisdom just says, keep doing what you're doing, just take more insulin. And then we'll chop off things when we need to. So don't worry about it, we have great prosthetics. Exceptional wisdom says, diabetes is not a disease. It is a normal, absolutely normal reaction to an abnormal condition in your environment. You can't consume 13 pounds of sugar. Your cells cannot store 13 pounds of sugar a month. So it backs up in the blood, and we call it a disease. Right? So we just stopped doing that. We have a woman up in Massachusetts that was a patient that... sorry, that's a long slide. We have lots of patients that have irritable bowel, Crohn's. I think our last Crohn's kid, he was about to die, and his potassium levels had bottomed out. Yeah, it took a week. It took a week to fix him. And of course, he didn't believe anything we said. I said, just do it. Just stop eating these things and eat these real things. Eat something that used to live, and you will live. And lo and behold, it took 1 week for him to get rid of all his neuropathies, to get his strength back. He couldn't even lift his babies. And it was only because of that crisis that a male patient would ever come in, and yet a 27-year-old male patient would ever come in and ever make any kind of real change, right? The brutality of his current situation was so dire that he was willing to make those changes, and he made those changes, and it all came back. Because his genetics weren't messed up, his physiology's not messed up, he was just eating stuff that caused it. So it's all autoimmune, it doesn't matter what it is. All autoimmune is the same thing. We have a patient with lupus up in Massachusetts. It took a couple weeks. She came in with her testing done by her endocrinologist. which was wonderful. So she had all these wonderful markers to show that she had lupus. She changed her diet. She went back to her doc and her rheumatologist, got them redone, and guess what? She no longer has elevated markers. She no longer has lupus. The miracle is food. The exceptional thing is food. And her rheumatologist, unlike a lot of our patients' rheumatologists, was very excited and supportive. Keep doing that, girl, right? You're doing awesome. That's excellent. Most of them just say, I don't know. You'll probably get it again. Don't worry. Don't get too excited. And the last one, for kind of illustrating this, is genetics. So the worst possible thing you could ever have is genetics. A genetic mutation, a chromosome mutation. So every time those cells turn over, they turn over mutated cells. So we get exposed to chemicals and things like benzoate, which is in your fruit juices. It's in supplements, for God's sake, right? We take gasoline and put it in food so we can preserve it, because gasoline's a great preservative. Isn't that a horrible idea? Horrible. And all the way back in the 1930s, we knew that was causing that. It's just like coal tar. Coal tar is the first chemical we've ever found to cause cancer in the laboratory. Before it was a mystery. We used a chemical to cause it, and what do we do with that chemical? We put it in your hair products. We put it on your roads. We put it in your house. We put it in dog shampoos. The thing that we know causes cancer. So all we did was what's called epigenetics, which is we changed the diet so that the food methylates DNA, which turns on the genes we want and turns off the genes we don't. So even if it's genetic, it doesn't mean that's your destiny. We still control the genetics every single day with our diet. So this kid came in with mutated DNA. He came out with 100% normal chromosomes. That mutation was no longer there. Now that's the hardest thing. Well, so everybody else, it's simple. It's simple, simple stuff. So stop being a patient, start being a person. That's our fifth principle here. And this guy, you guys know who that is? Mark Twain. The doctor of the future, you'll see this a lot, will give no medicine, but will instruct his patient on health and diet. And that's really the key. That's the exceptional piece. It's just only the lifestyle that requires it. There's a great book called Blue Zone. You guys know that book? It came from the National Geographic, and it talked about the people who live the longest, healthiest lives. In the U.S., we have 78,000 people that have lived over 100 years of age. There's so much. 78,000, which is quite a bit. But there are pockets all around the world where people are living long, healthy lives, even to the 120s. The human lifespan should be 120 years of age, and that's where we see people peak out. But most of us don't live like that. Most of us live miserable until we die in our 50s. And we create what's called, we want the rectangular lifespan like we see with the blue zones. We live a long, productive life, and then we die very quickly. And we feel good about the life we left. But if you say by age 20, you're at your peak, everything goes downhill from there. But for Americans, by your 30s, 40s, and 50s, there's just not a lot to live for. You're just plagued with disease after disease and fatigue and brain fog, and nothing's working at all. And so what's the point? Just pull the plug, right? Next thing you know, you're pulling the lamp plug and hoping. And then we just suffer and suffer and suffer. And look, these two people, even if they died at the same point, even if they died at 80, look at all the quality of life that's missed. On Facebook, I posted this great picture. I had to repost it, so I didn't come up with it. But it was I think it was a 75-year-old or 80-year-old person, and one of them was in a swimming suit, and she looked healthy as could be. The other one was in a nursing home, crippled over, walking with a walker. Same age, same basic genetics, same physiology. What determined those two different outcomes? Everything that they did leading up to that point. Everything that they chose 3 times a day to eat. And of course, calorie restriction, you can actually eat less and live longer. We eat 75% more than we did just 20 years ago. 6-1, eat your way out of disease. All right, guys, ready for this? This is crazy, crazy stuff. We're going to talk about food as medicine, actual food. So we know what causes it. We know the problems that we have. We know it's a sudden epidemic. Now let's figure out how we can sudden epidemic it backwards. So we're going to talk about eating your way out of heart disease, balancing cholesterol, and that's a whole other story, but eating your way out of diabetes and cancer. So we're just tackling the big ones, because if we can fix those things simply by food, everything else is just a walk in the park and a carrot. Prevention magazine back in 2009, they were quoting a study from Boston University. And what they said was heart disease is the #1 killer of women in the United States, and we can actually cut it by 92%. We can wipe out heart disease in the United States. That sounds like a good idea. We knew back in 1972 that Dean Ornish was able to take people off the bypass graft surgical list, right? So they had so much plaqued arteries that they're going to have to cut veins out of their legs and reroute their heart. And by changing their diet, within 2 weeks those people didn't have angina. Within 1 month, 30 days, they were no longer surgical candidates for bypass graft. They reversed the heart disease. We could cheap, easy things like this, right? So this is what they came up with. 5 crazy ideas. Crazy, radical ideas that would slash the #1 killer by 92%. Moderate alcohol, which really they're talking about relaxation, calming, and the resveratrol from grapes. So you don't have to drink wine if you don't want wine, because there's people that don't drink wine that are very, very healthy. You eat the grapes that made the wine. You don't eat green grapes. What color grapes should you eat?
Dark.
Dark. The darker the berry, the more nutrients that are in there. It may not taste as sugary sweet as a green, but you're going to live longer. Healthy diet based on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fish, legumes like peanuts. So just eat real food. Get a little bit of exercise every day. And healthy body weight, which is 85% of your hip size. And that is just a byproduct of the first 2. Not of the drinking, unfortunately. And then don't smoke. Does that sound like something we could do as a nation? That should be like a national priority? But do we do that? No. Because it's genetic. Right? Heart prevention. Harvard had a great study, and they looked at the basic foods that would prevent a heart attack, and we're going to look at several different studies, and you'll see that all these foods replicate. The wonderful thing is, you don't have to write all these down, because they're all the same thing. A fruit, a vegetable, a nut, a seed, and a berry. Eat something that was real, and if you didn't eat it, it would decay very quickly. That's life. Eat life. Don't eat the thing that eats those things, right? Don't eat the cow. Eat what the cow's eating. He looks pretty healthy and strong. A horse looks really strong. I want to be strong, strong bones, strong muscles. Should I eat the horse, or should I eat what the horse is eating? Probably eat what the horse is eating. Well, maybe not on a farm, but out in the pasture. So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, and greens. How do you guys know who Michael Pollan is? Food Inc., In Defense of Food, Omnivore's Dilemma. You know, same thing. I love that message he has, and it's even on the cover of the book. Don't eat as much, eat mostly vegetables and mostly greens, or just, I don't know, just eat fruit, vegetable, nuts, seeds, and berries. That's what I extrapolated from him. I think that's great. That makes it less confusing. So that's the first heart attack. There's another study that says, well, what's going to prevent the second heart attack? And women by age 45, 1 in 13 will already have had their first heart attack. Their first recognized heart attack. By age 45, 1 in 13 women. And more women will die of heart attacks, and more women will die of the second heart attack. 1/3 of those women that survive at 45 are going to have a major heart attack next year. Only 1/4 of men will die from the second heart attack. Usually the 5th or 6th, So, they did something crazy. They were able to reduce it by eating fish and fatty fish, salmon, tuna, halibut, cod, mackerel. Fish with really good fat in it, because that fat is omega-3, anti-inflammatory, anti-arrhythmia, fish oil. Lots of fruits and vegetables. And they compared that versus the American idea of just cutting out fat. If we just cut out fat, we'll reduce heart attacks. Well, that's not true because fat doesn't cause heart attacks. But we compare it to food, and food makes a huge difference. We can eat fatty fish. In fact, the island of Crete, over in the Mediterranean, they actually consume more fat than any other country, and they have the lowest heart attack rates. Because when we talk about fat, we don't talk about what kind of fat. Omega-3 fat versus omega-6 fat. The reason fish is so important is there's 9 different ways that every time you eat that fish, you're guaranteeing that you have less heart attacks, less arrhythmias, less cholesterol problems, less hypertension, less stroke. Everything in that fish, as long as it's not farm raised, where we're feeding it corn, which causes all these problems, but if it's out there eating plants, then it's going to be healing. And every time you eat that fish, it's going to block platelets, which means no clots. It's going to reduce constriction, which means no hypertension. It's going to increase blood flow, which means you're not going to have brain fog. Right? You feel all your toes, all your pinkies, and all your fingers. You feel them. Lowers fibrinogen, which means less inflammation, which means less clotting, which means less heart attack and stroke. And increases fibrolytic activity, which is, it's actually clot busting. A can of tuna is just as effective as taking a 325 milligram aspirin every day for your heart. Except that tuna is also going to deplaque your heart. The aspirin is going to lead to bleeding disorders in 70% of people that take it over 2 weeks. It lowers triglycerides. It raises antioxidant-rich HDLs, which are protective. It's going to increase the cell membrane flexibility, which means no hardening of the arteries. And it's going to lower your blood pressure directly. That's amazing, right? And this is why countries that are around oceans or around seas where they primarily eat lots of these fatty fish have virtually no heart disease. That's why people in the island of Crete in the Mediterranean can eat so much fatty fish and never have heart attacks. Because the fat that's in there is the fat that protects you. Harvard did this wonderful study, and they came up with the same basic conclusions. Nuts, garlic, which garlic is wonderful, antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic, antiviral. Alcohol, and onions, which if you've ever cooked Mediterranean is Mediterranean food, right? You can just mix that together with some onions and garlic and put some pistachios in there and then drink a bunch of wine until it tastes good. No, but you can put all that stuff in your salad. Always cook with onions and garlic. Cook everything with onions and garlic. That is, it has quercetin in there, which actually deplaques your arteries, or lowers inflammation, and it's going to protect your heart. Very specific things, angina, which is just chest pain, and the say good angina is, I walk upstairs and I go, oh man, it hurts. Really bad angina is I'm sitting doing nothing and I go, oh my gosh, I can't even get enough blood flow to my heart just sitting here. That's bad, right? Removing alcohol, and again, we're talking about excess alcohol, beer, not red wine, right? So the countries that are healthy, when they talk about alcohol, they mean red wine. When Americans talk about it, they mean Keystone Light. And then arrhythmias are caused by caffeine. We're a caffeinated nation, and we're caffeinated because our hormones have been exhausted because we choose to live highly stressful lives and don't do anything to bring our stress down. We choose to be stressed, and then we deplete our hormones, and then we look for a legal drug. We go, no, crack's illegal, cocaine's illegal, coffee's legal, right? I'll just live off coffee. Is that the choices you guys make, crack or coffee? So, you know, arrhythmias, you guys seen that study just last month where 22,000 young Americans go to the ER for heart-related arrhythmias and chest pain and angina, and what's it from them drinking? Energy drinks, right? Because at 20, you got to have a Monster soda just to function. Terrible. Foods that fight clots. Garlic is probably the best thing, and garlic you can eat, cook it, pickle it, chop it, stab it, throw it on the floor, it'll be Awesome. It doesn't lose any of its cardioprotective nature from that. Cornell did a study where they looked at red wine's resveratrol. But again, it's not from the alcohol, it's from the dark red grapes. Zhejiang? Yeah. All right. Zhejiang Medical University of China, which is the most polluted country in the world, found that green tea has this tannin or catechin, and catechins are those epigenetic things that turn on and off our genes, which is pretty cool. But the catechins or tannins actually blocked platelet clumping, just like you take your aspirin. So drinking green tea means no stroke, no heart attack. They just came out with another study, again, to verify this just the other day, where they said people who drink at least 1 cup of green tea dropped their risk by 20%. Well, they had studies that were even better than that years before that, where they said people who drink green tea, at least 5 cups a day, 5 little cups, not big giant cups, 5 cups, cut their rates by 50%.
Does that apply to decaffeinated green tea?
Oh, the decaf is a made-up thing. Made-up thing. That's a bad thing. Bad thing. No, green tea, so yes, the answer is yes. The other one's a long story. But yes.
Decaffeinated green tea is okay?
Yeah, that'll be okay. Try to, yeah, all right. There's a Swedish study, and it said fruits and vegetables lowers fibrinogen. And again, all we're doing is trying to do the same thing that fish did, right? So instead of like inventing aspirin from willow bark, we just eat food. And we just eat a lot of food that does this every single day, all day long, and so we guarantee that we are not a population where everybody's dying of a heart attack and stroke. Balancing blood pressure, it's usually, we're talking about sodium. We said sodium's evil, right? Is sodium evil? No. When does sodium become bad? Excess. We get 80% of our excess sodium from processed foods. Foods that are packed with salt so that they last a lot longer, so I can make a whole bunch and I can extend my profitability, have less loss, and make a greater profit. I'll just pack everything in salt. So you go to Chili's, you get a low-fat chili burger, right? Has enough salt for 3 days. Because if they take the fat out, well, they got to add a ton of salt, so it makes it taste good, so you keep buying their stuff. So we stay addicted in the brain. And so it's not sodium. They came out because everybody cut out sodium, and then they came back and said, oh, wait. Yeah, I was just kidding. You need sodium. Sodium's important. The sodium that you put on as table salt, the sodium that's in all fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and berries, that's okay. It's the sodium that you're going to get that's packed in the food to preserve it. So if you don't eat a bunch of processed food, you don't have to worry about that. Eat real food and add salt to flavor your food. And you don't have to worry about heart disease. So in Italy, who knew the Italians were stressed out and had hypertension, right? They did this study in Naples, and it was a 12-month study, and they looked at just doing one crazy idea again. Not giving them a potassium supplement, but giving them what? A food that is naturally high in potassium, which also is going to have 10,000 other biochemicals in it, all kinds of other minerals, all phytonutrients, right? So not a supplement, but food. And a crazy thing happened. By just introducing one potassium-rich food, 38% were able to get off their medicines. 38%. By just adding one potassium-rich food. 81% were able to cut their medications in half. Isn't that amazing? One food, not any other changes. There's many other things you can do. Many other things you can do. But we're just talking about the simplicity of it. Exceptional wisdom. If you told your doctor, look, I'm not going to do medicine, I'm going to just eat a banana. Right? You can't go fishing with a net. Alright. There's a joke in there. Who's the guy that was Frankie? Only a net can go fishing with Frankie. Frankie can go fishing with a net. There you go. Alright, that's Any of the jokes that you don't like, he made them up. Alright, so balancing cholesterol. And again, we're not going to get into this, but cholesterol isn't a problem. Cholesterol, countries that lower cholesterol artificially have more heart attacks and more strokes than countries that have higher cholesterol. And that's because cholesterol is good for you. Cholesterol is doing a good thing for you. Even LDLs aren't bad. Because the fundamental question is, why are you making LDLs? And even out of LDLs, you have the large and you have the tiny ones. The tiny ones are the dangerous ones. But they're only dangerous because they're doing a job that you're requiring them to do because of your lifestyle and diet. You stop doing that, you don't make a bunch of LDLs that are small, you don't end up with plaquing, and you don't have to eat a bunch of ginger and turmeric all the time to deplaque your arteries. Right? So, when we talk about cholesterol, we're talking about balancing cholesterol, because cholesterol is everything that feels good in this world. Your testosterone is cholesterol, your progesterone is cholesterol, your estrogens, all three of them, are cholesterol. Your cortisol, your stress hormone, is cholesterol. In fact, the largest amount of hormone you make in your body, DHEA, or anti-aging, the fountain of youth that's in your body, is cholesterol. Everything that makes you feel like a man, a woman, a healthy, brain, working person is cholesterol. The number one side effect for people that lower cholesterol is what? Memory loss. Why? Because the brain is made of cholesterol. Cholesterol is wrapped around every single nerve like bacon to insulate it. You get rid of the bacon, the brain doesn't work as well. And if you eat bacon, it doesn't work. So foods that help, same thing. Oats, dirt, stinking cheap way to balance your cholesterol. Apples, carrots, olive oil, avocados. Again, they'll tell you avocados are full of fat. Is it good fat or bad fat? Right? It's cardioprotective fat. And of course you have your nuts and garlic and onions, which we see the garlic and onions again. Beta-carotene rich foods, what does this mean? What color? Orange. Orange. So your orange foods, your sweet potatoes, your carrots. Those are all going to be things that naturally balance your cholesterol. In fact, the things that have the highest amount of fiber, the densest foods, densest fruits and vegetables, those are going to be the most protective of balancing cholesterol. The goal really should be raising your antioxidant level of cholesterol and protecting yourself against lipid peroxidation, which is the actual cause of damage from cholesterol. You can have super high cholesterol and never have any damage if you prevent the oxidation. And the way you prevent oxidation is by eating antioxidants. Right? And turmeric is 100,000 times more potent of an antioxidant than vitamin A, C, or E, but each vitamin A, C, or E. And you don't have to take them as a supplement because they're in everything that's real. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and berries. So beans are the cheapest. Beans. Get them dry, soak them, sprout them, grow them, right? And then eat them. And with your cholesterol, again, the test that they do is just a guesswork. The real test you ever want, if you really want to know about cholesterol, is BAP, vertical analysis. And that looks at all the different components of your cholesterol. Your HDL 1, 2, 3. Your LDLs 1 and 2, the fat versus the small. Your VLDL 1, 2, and 3. Because even HDL isn't all that cardioprotective if it's the wrong LDL or HDLs. And LDLs, if LDLs are high, but they're the big buoyant ones, awesome! They're cardioprotective. You're going to reduce heart disease by having high LDLs if they are the cardioprotective ones. But again, we don't do that because the goal is just blindly, now don't stop taking your medications, right? Take some. And then lowering triglycerides, which is the biggest thing really, and that is just bread. Don't be consuming 13 pounds of sugar in loaves of bread and donuts and deli stuff and all kinds of stuff.
Grain bread is sugar?
Yeah. Whole, Wonder Bread is just instant sugar. Whole grain bread is just a bunch of sugar with some fiber. Now, the more fiber, the less sugar you're going to absorb, but it's all just sugar. Now, if that's the worst possible thing you're doing as far as sugar, it may not be that bad. But most people, that's all they're doing. Bread every single meal. And you think of like a bagel now, is 6 slices of bread. You can get people to eat 6 slices of bread, like You know, you come around with a loaf, oh, I'll take 6, right? But they'll take a bagel, and you gotta put some cream cheese on that, some jelly, right? So we eat just astronomically way too much bread, way too much. And again, there's no foods that are really evil, but there's some foods in general that it's better to eat these, not that. And when in doubt, just eat something that was real. You know, the bread of Jesus is not the bread of today. 2,000 years ago, you couldn't make bear claws and donuts, right? But we changed the grain, so we could. And then we suffer the consequences of that. All right, Hippocrates, leave your drugs in your chemist's pot. If you can heal anything without or with food, then heal with food. So that takes us to our last major component of this, cancer. All right, something that was rare, now epidemic. Something that was rare in child, now is epidemic in child. Something that in 1975 was the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. 10th. And what did we do? We declared war on cancer. We were going to pour funding and we were going to find the cure to this elusive thing. And now what is it? It's everybody. It's first, right? So it's not genetic, it's what we do. If you look at these, diet, we do this. It's not sun, it's lack of vitamins that allow mutation, and then your body does not fix those mutations. Viruses, that's very rare, but again, that's immunosuppressant. You can't eat 13 pounds of sugar and expect your immune system to actually work, because just a soda will knock your immune system or impair it in a whole day, for a whole day. Occupational factors, all those chemicals, alcohol, radiation, but it's all stuff that we do, you know? It's all stuff we do to ourselves. And even this last little bit, where's the other? Most likely it's still stuff that we do. So National Cancer Institute says you can cure cancer by doing something radical, by eating fruits and vegetables. It used to be 5 fruits and vegetables would prevent cancer. 5 a day. Now it's 13. Because we impair the immune system of the plants by using fertilizers and pesticides, and then that knocks the immune system out of the plants, and then we don't get the immune system from the plants, and then we suffer the consequences. But look at this. You can knock out the top 3 through diet. The top 3 are dietary. The largest amount of cancers we could just wipe off by changing diet. And even smokers, this is the key, this is how important this is exceptional wisdom, this, is if you smoke 5,000 toxins all day, every day, and still eat fruits and vegetables, 75% decrease in the risk of cancer. That's huge. That means we can poison ourselves and not have cancer. So you can smoke and be healthy. No. You have the anti-cancer diet, which is, again, mostly just fruits, cruciferous vegetables especially. The encouraged cancer diet is the standard American diet. It's not a surprise we have cancer. It's a surprise that everybody doesn't have cancer. Well, no, that's not true now, right? It's not a surprise. We know what causes it. You also have the anti-spread. And those are going to be foods that are what's called anti-angiogenic foods. These are foods that prevent the spread of cancer. They knock out the blood supply. They prevent the seeding. And it goes back to our green tea. It goes back to our cruciferous vegetables. Even collard greens. Our anti-cancer diet in general, same things that we talked about. Fruit, vegetable, nut, seeds, berry. You can even see all our little seasonings on here. Our sage, our oregano, our mint, our rosemary, our tarragon. All those things that are in a good marinara sauce that you make from scratch. Or at least buy in a glass bottle. So lots of soup, lots of salad, lots of real food. When in doubt, if you guys don't remember any of this, you don't have to remember this. Just go buy a real Mediterranean cookbook and eat like the people that don't have cancer and don't have heart disease. Right? You want to be rich? Do you ask poor people? Hey, what's the secret? No. If you want to be healthy, if you don't want to have cancer, don't ask Americans. Ask who's not having it. What do you guys do? Right? In the U.S., we have 10 people and 5 are sick. We will spend billions and trillions of dollars figuring out why these people are sick. I want to know why these 5 people that have the same genetics, the same physiology, why are they not sick? Let's do what they do. Let's do what rich people do to get rich. So we get healthy rich. And of course, the University of Minnesota did a cancer study by type. So you could actually alter what you're going to eat based on where the cancer is. But does it change that much? It's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. It's no secret. Let your food be your medicine be your food. Food is medicine. Food is the cure. With diabetes, 1 and 2, it's unacceptable. And of course, you see, we're going to find the cure. Because the ADA says there's no cure for diabetes. But if you drink a large mega jug of soda, they'll donate $1 to find this cure. Find that cure one soda at a time, one large mega soda at a time. I sure hope we find it. To be overweight in the U.S., it's $4,800 extra. To be diabetic, it's $14,000 plus. It costs you to be sick. It costs more to be overweight. It costs more to be unhealthy. 80% of those people that are overweight are going to become diabetic within 3 to 5 years. That 3,500 is going to go to 14,000. And then you have to find fake toes and fake feet to wear. The normal to diabetes, it's not a secret. We know the markers. We know the lifestyle. All you got to check on that thing is, are you American? Do you do what Americans do? All right, well, you're diabetic. You have cancer. So you can look at those markers and change those markers. But what's the key to changing all these? How do you cure all those? Is it a miracle drug, a miracle supplement? It's a choice we make. It's the greatest control we have over our health. 3 times a day. We choose. The key is knowing that we're choosing. Knowing that everything we do has an outcome. And the cure of diabetes is simple. We had a patient that had an A1C of unreadable. I didn't even know that existed. Never had a patient, never heard of a patient having an unreadable A1C. Her fasting blood sugars on maximum insulin was 500. And she's not the only patient I've ever had that's buying extra insulin off Craigslist. Which is crazy. Because even we've never had this before. I mean, this is unheard of. How long did it take her to have normal fasting blood sugars when she woke up? Just by changing her diet. 1 week. It took 1 week. That's crazy. That's fish jumping into your boat crazy. But it happens. We just had a diabetic patient this week. She's been posting her blood sugars to me on Facebook, and she's down to 127, which is pre-diabetes. Which is excellent, because she's been at this for a whole 2 weeks. Proud of her, you know? And I make my patients do this, and you guys do this too. You don't do the cheap way. You don't do the easy way. You do it through food. You do it the hard way. You earn your health. You choose your health. You're either going to buy drugs, you're going to buy supplements, or you're going to buy food. Buy food. Eat real things. Feed your family real things so you don't have to figure out what are we going to do. We can't afford to be healthy. We can't afford to go to the doctor for these diseases. Everybody in the family is sick. It's food. It really is food. And if you look at this, low glycemic, this is your GI index. If you eat this, you will never be diabetic. Never. And that includes fruits, because it is a lie. You can eat fruit and eat your way out of diabetes. Absolutely you can. Because the sugar in fruit does not get absorbed like the sugar in fructose, which is something man created, not God created. Right? You don't have chimpanzees with diabetes shooting themselves up with insulin because they ate too many bananas. We weren't able to achieve diabetes until we messed with the food, until we took the chemicals out of the food and synthesized them and put them in huge quantities and resold people it and addicted the brain to it. But if you come over here, this is what we've done to the food. We've created bagels, corn chips, I remember feeding my kid Cheerios, and I didn't think about it. Well, it's oats. It should be healthy, right? It's got the heart seal on it. It's healthy. I'm doing my kid a favor, right? But it's just sugar. It's just sugar. Puffed wheat, donuts, French fries. I mean, what are you going to feed your kids? Cheerios or donuts? Well, I'm not a genius, but I know that's different. But it's not. Cheetos aren't even real. Cheerios are just sugar. Just sugar, just like a donut. So this, I mean, is this any surprise that the Americans have diabetes? And have it younger and younger? We have the fattest baby population in the whole entire world? And I'm surprised there's not a cannibal epidemic here. Because they'd be like, oh, fat cow people. You know? So we fatten up our cows, they fatten up Americans. Okay, that's too far. So, it's not a surprise. It is absolutely not a surprise. If you eat a bunch of foods that become sugar, if you eat 156 pounds of sugar, there is no way your physiology was ever designed to handle that. Never. If you take rice, and does carbs make you fat? Do carbs make us fat? Because I know a lot of Asians all around the whole entire planet that aren't suffering from obesity. They're suffering from, I can't buy pants small enough, right? But carbs in the U.S. somehow make you fat. Fat in Europe makes you skinny and healthy and not have heart attacks. Fat in the U.S. makes us fat and have heart attacks. It's how we think about the food. And again, if you stay away from things that we did, or we changed, then you don't have to worry about it. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Decreased hormone exhaustion. Again, this is just brief because this isn't really part of food therapy. But these are all your cholesterol hormones that you're wasting away and getting older too fast, getting exhausted too fast, getting brain fog too fast, ending up with estrogen dominance. So then you have PMS and endometriosis and all these kind of fibrocystic breasts and prostates that are too big and men growing man boobs now, right? We have an estrogen problem in men because the #1 elective surgery in Europe and the US is male breast reduction surgery. Because those estrogens affect us the same because we make the same estrogens you guys do. And we have the same parts. All boys come from women. All babies, male or female, start as a girl. And the boys grow out of the girl, take the girl parts and grow boy parts with that. So we still have the same response to estrogen. With high glycemic, white bread, real food. Lower blood sugars, low glycemic. The other key part to this, in eating your way out of disease, is if you are eating a lot of things that convert to sugar very quickly, like the stuff we saw on the right side of the screen, those things are going to spike your blood sugar up really high, which your body's going to respond by overproducing insulin, which is going to drop your blood sugar and make you shaky and then say, I have hypoglycemia, right? You have a hypoglycemia because you have a hyperglycemic diet and your body's just overreacting. But then you have to raise your blood sugar back up without more sugar. And it does that by using epinephrine and norepinephrine. And if you do this day in and day out, you are going to get anxiety. You're going to get arrhythmias because you're dumping out fight or flight hormones and you're not doing anything but just eating your cereal. The same thing's true about cortisol. Cortisol is going to be used to raise your blood sugar back up too. And you do that, you get infertility. And now we have women, 1 in 7 women in the U.S. are infertile by, well, 1 in 7. Quote wrong statistics, that wouldn't be good. So, it's not a surprise. We cause that. That's why our immune system is so suppressed, is because we eat a diet that guarantees it'll be suppressed. You want to eat for your hormones. So eating to feel good, eating so you don't have brain fog, eating so your brain works, eating so you can feel good at the end of the day. So you can cope with all the stresses. And these are all your progesterone foods. These are all the foods that are going to build the wonderful cholesterol hormones that make you feel awesome every day, that lower your estrogen dominance. And for thyroid, it's the same thing. Just eat things that boost your thyroid. then you don't have to have hypothyroid. You don't have to be on a thyroid drug. You just eat for your thyroid and it works because your body works. And the last one is stop chronically managing chronic conditions. And that's the takeaway message. I love that. But that's how we are. We take a bunch of supplements, we take a bunch of drugs, we take a bunch of whatever, we chop things out so that we can keep doing what we're doing. We're living a lifestyle that is incompatible with life and longevity. We're eating a diet and living a lifestyle that's incompatible with life and longevity. And we're suffering needlessly, we're dying prematurely because of that. It isn't about managing it. You're going to choose a food or a drug. But in the end, you are going to choose. All right. That's all I got. And I wanted to show you guys one thing here too. I got sugar cane. You know how many calories are in actual sugar from the cane? 5 calories per serving. 5, if you eat the real sugar, which isn't that stuff. All right, so you guys filled out your survey?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Should you eat organic?
Yeah, eating organic's wonderful.
Is it better than buying non-organic?
It is because of all the chemicals. Like an apple, they spray 200 pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all toxic chemicals on your apple. And most of those, like about 64 of those, might still be on there when you buy it. So there's online, you can go look up the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15. And that's going to tell you where to spend your money for organics. But the key is, like the China study, which is an excellent book, one of the key principles in the back is, when in doubt, just eat a fruit or vegetable. If you don't know if it's organic or not, just eat it, right? Because it's better than anything else you're going to replace it with. So if you can't make a better choice, if it's too costly for you, it's better to eat the food with the chemicals on it because the substance inside is what's going to counteract all those chemicals. If you eat a pot pie, it ain't, right? So you're getting chemicals and no nutrition with it.
You were talking about the energy drink, plastic.
Yes.
Well, then there's bottled water, but plastic, is that bad?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Cheryl Crow, that's what she's blaming her breast cancer on, is leaving her water bottle in the warm sun, because it leaches all the estrogen in there. Yeah.
Bottled water is not good.
No, but you know, you can buy S. Pellegrini water, or Pellegrino, yeah, or Aquapana, or Perrier, or Voss. These foo-foo waters that you see the celebrities drinking, you can buy them. It's always in the very back of Walmart. And in glass, shipped from Norway, shipped from Paris, shipped from Naples. You have these drinks, have these waters that's pulled out from 1,500 aquifers, and they have minerals in them like you should get. And they are cheaper or the same cost as buying plastic from the municipal water source here in America. So you can buy the glass, and then like if you buy a Voss water bottle, just keep the bottle and put RO water or filtered water back in it and just use a glass water bottle.
Then answer this question.
Alright, so the first question. Oh, I don't have one. Can you read it?
Who ran out?
Alright, we'll just share it. Oh, okay. Oh, you answered yours, alright. Alright, so are you trying to live a lifestyle that's incompatible with life and longevity? Now, that's not everybody, but if you're sick, you are, right? Does commercial bread have human hair in it? What do you guys think?
Yes.
It does. It does. They call it L-cysteine, but it's extracted from human hair from Chinese people who are, again, the most toxic, so all those toxins are actually in their hair. So that's not good. But, again, is it real food? It is. You know, I'd rather eat human hair than petroleum. But that's what we're faced with now. How about bread with no hair in it? That'd be good. Talk about getting hair in your bun or something at McDonald's. You're getting the whole bun's hair. Are certain soda drinks ice cream flavored with secretions from a beaver's anus?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Why is that? Is that really true?
Because it's probably not no.
Yeah. So it's true. It's true. Several ice creams are flavored with this, and Mountain Dew, Squirt, all those kind of yellow sodas are all flavored with the secretions from the glands around a beaver's anus. Now, talk about your bad jobs, right? But again, I know that's gross, but at least it's real. Oh, no, I don't know.
You're saying which color drinks are that, or what about which ice creams?
It's the ones that have that chemical, the castoreum. So you'll see castoreum on it because apparently.
Put on your ice cream if it says that word. in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Where do they get all the beavers?
I actually saw a picture someone posted on Facebook. That had all the beaver
An ice cream.
rears hung up, and they were being processed. And I thought, really? I don't know. Does shredded cheese contain sawdust?
Yes.
Yeah, and shredded cheese contains niacin, which is an antibiotic too. So that's awesome.
Why does it have sawdust?
Huh?
It keeps
Oh,
it
so
from sticking together.
yeah. Nobody wants their cheese clumping together. Just put a little sawdust in there. It's fine.
Is that the reason low-fat cheese, shredded cheese clumps?
Well, I don't know.
Just low-fat shredded cheese clumps.
Is that right? So they're gonna put more powder in there. Why do we do this to ourselves, right? Does food coloring decrease brain growth by up to 8,000%?
Yes.
Yeah. This blue, there's studies, 2010 published that we actually created ADHD in a laboratory. But you know, in Europe, if you go to Europe and you drink something with known chemicals that cause ADHD, they have a warning label on the candy just like cigarettes in the US. Our FDA voted to actually put warning labels on candy. But we said we needed more research, right? Because the industry said, no, that's not a problem. So we'll figure this out. But that the blue will decrease your brain growth by 3,000%, yellow by 5,000%, and then MSG by 8,000%. And then if you have green or different colors, it's not added, it's multiplied those. You multiply them together. We are literally making dumber population because of this. In the 1960s, the United States IQ dropped for the first time, and it has never recovered. In the last studies, they have the national studies by age 15 where all the countries compete to see who's the smartest. We were beat by Poland. Okay? So the Polish people are talking like, how many Americans does it take to screw in a light bulb? That's messed up. Yeah.
This kind of goes along with what you're saying, but during excuse me, your whole talk just keeps going through my head. Why does our AMA and whatever professional group you belong to, why do we put up with this? Why aren't they running ads in every newspaper in the country every day of the year, telling us this and going after the corporate powers that are insisting that we all eat this crap?
Because the people who are in charge are the people from those companies. The guy, when the Supreme Court voted to make genetically modified seeds, the deciding vote was Clarence Thomas, who used to work for the company that's seeking that patent.
Well, then how do we change this whole process?
It's going to happen through the socialization of healthcare. Because in the U.S.,
When's that going to happen?
well, that's what we're starting to do. Because in the U.S., now, there was a couple countries like Sweden a few years ago, or several years ago now, the country started adopting American-style principles, and they started eating like us, and all of a sudden, their health started declining, which means the healthcare costs skyrocketed within just a few years. And because there is no way to just say, oh, you're sick, I'm not going to pay for you. Tough luck. They're stuck with the bill. And if somebody's stuck with the bill, they're going to figure out very quickly how to lower that cost. Because you can't drop those people. And so in the US, that's the only way we're going to do it, because we have the FDA that says, oh, those chemicals that cause cancer, yeah, we're cool with that, just put those in there. And then we pay the EPA to warn us about the chemicals that, gosh, don't eat those things that the FDA just passed. And so we spend millions of dollars educating not to consume those chemicals. And so it's backwards. It's backwards. Until we have to pay for people that are sick, it's not going to change. Because no one's responsible. Nobody's responsible. So can nachos, donuts, and cheeseburgers shrink your brain by up to 10%? Yeah. Oh man. Someone posted on Facebook a picture, it was a great picture of a skinny person and a fat person, and they said, you know, it's not your bones, you're not a big bone, because the bones are exactly the same. But what was interesting was the brains were noticeably different. That the obese person had a markedly smaller brain. And so these chemicals, you know, the cheeseburger, the worst one is the Krispy Kreme bacon cheeseburger. That one has the greatest effect on decreasing your brain.
No wonder they're fat.
Yeah.
They lost their brains.
That's right. That's right. So people who drink diet soda actually gain more weight.
Yes.
True. We've always known that. And we put a chemical derived from gasoline that converts the formaldehyde and methanol alcohol in your drink with the hope that you're going to lose weight and you get sicker and fatter. And natural flavors are made from petroleum. Yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Hey, you did it.
Are you covered if we got a need that will insurance pay for
No.
your services?
No, I'm old school. I'm concierge medicine, which is you contract with the physician directly. Because the way healthcare is set up is that you have to be sick to get a code, and if I submit that code, I get paid. So you only get healthy, or if you get healthy, the doctors won't ever get paid. And they have to wait. So like if you're pre-diabetic, that's all right. Pre-diabetic, that's all right. Almost diabetic, oh, that's all right. Oh, now you're diabetic, I can get paid. So let's go ahead and help you. And so no, we do concierge, which is you contract with me to get you healthy and keep you healthy. And if you don't get better, it's my job to figure out why. And it's something that used to be healthcare, and not anymore.
I have ulcerative colitis, and I can't eat the beans, the nuts, all the things that are on your list. What do I eat?
All right, so why do you have ulcerative colitis? That's the real question.
I don't know. I'd like to know that too.
Yeah, so ulcerative colitis should be fixed in like a week, a couple weeks for that. And most likely you're just deficient in probiotics. You'd be better off drinking like kombucha tea, fermented pickles, fermented sauerkraut that are actually living things, because think of me, I'm here, I'm only 1/12 of the living things in and on me. 11 out of 12 things are bacteria that live in and on me. 3 pounds of my body weight is bacteria alone. And those are the things that digest your food. And the reason you can't eat certain things is because the things that eat those things aren't there anymore. We kill them off. And we don't re-inoculate it, and we make people scared of bacteria. And the vast majority of all bacteria is good bacteria. And so you just got to re-inoculate your body with good bacteria. Avoid the foods that cause problems, but go to the health food store and get fermented foods. And then start eating those slowly.
What about acidic reflux? What about acidic reflux?
Same thing. So reflux is just something we cause. So reflux is almost always dairy, wheat, and high glycemic foods.
Because I can't eat like grapefruit or oranges or
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, and the key is you cut out the foods that are irritating it, and once you do that, then you don't have reflux anymore. And then long term, you fix the underlying conditions, and then you can eat whatever you want. Do you eat dairy and wheat? Like eat dairy or wheat, like milk or ice cream? Cut out those and see if you get better. So it's kind of cool because you get rid of those things, and then you can eat these other healthy things that you had to get rid of.
I didn't see yogurt on any of the list.
No, because yogurt's milk, and milk is the devil. Milk is a horrible story about how we take a ton of estrogen and feed it to humans, and then they get a bunch of estrogenic cancers, heart disease. Like the average age of menstrual, or say menarche, for women used to be back in 1975 about 16, 17 years old. Now it's down to 8 and 9 years old. And they're actually seeing secondary sexual characteristics in 3-year-olds now. And if you pump kids full of dairy, which is full of tons of estrogen, and we're not even using estrogen in cows that have udders this big, we're using cows that have udders this big. And the way you make a breast bigger in a cow is the same way women have breast bigger in a human, is you pump a bunch of estrogen in them. Naturally. So they just naturally are producing more, which makes the cow more profitable, but then you just absolutely guarantee that boys are going to have moobs and girls are going to start menses early. And then, of course, they'll go menopause early, too.
All right, promote your next one for you guys to mark your calendars for.
So the next one is May 21st, and it'll be 7 to 8, or a little bit longer. And it's called Slim, Sexy, Insane. And for guys, we'll call it Healthy, Handsome, and Handy. Really, all you gotta be is handy, and that's really it. But it's a woman's guide to naturally balancing your hormones, eliminating stress, having more energy, and getting your memory back. And again, it is not through buying supplements, it's not through buying a bunch of drugs, it is about you living a lifestyle and creating a lifestyle that naturally allows you to feel good all the time and be productive. So, if you guys haven't picked up the newsletter.
Do we have that already?
Yeah. So let's get Dr. Garrett. I want to say thank you very much for coming. This is by far the largest turnout we've had.